Hello and welcome back to the Sam Beast YouTube channel and another one in our ITAM shorts. Today we're talking to Chris Allen, aka the software guy, also known as the Microsoft guy, also known as the guy who posts funny memes on LinkedIn. He actually has some really awesome content on LinkedIn, so we'll put his link in the description. In this short, though, I asked him for his top tips on managing software as a service and software subscriptions, and also wanted to understand from his perspective how you can actually relate that to your day-to-day lives, all the kind of streaming services and stuff that we all subscribe to on our day-to-day lives. So let's go in, see what Chris has to say. Hope you enjoy it, and see you on the next short.
No, I agree entirely. But if you think about your own personal finances, depending how hot you are on it, how often do you go through and review how many subscriptions you have on PayPal, for example? Like, are you aware how many? You sign out. I mean, I'll be honest. I've done it in the past, and I did have to have a cleanse a couple months back, but I don't tactically go through. Over the past 3, 4, 5 years, I would have subscribed to a number of things and just completely forgotten about it.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah. I was paying for my TV license for somewhere 3 years ago, up until I think a few months back. I was like, forget about it.
You're right, actually. On a personal level, the amount of subscriptions now, for example, to do these YouTube videos, admittedly, they're just like webcam to webcam, but I've got, a camera set up. I need some editing stuff for it.
Yep.
So I got some editing subscription for that. And it quickly spirals. Now, I tried some other cartoon created software that I subscribed to, used once, and I haven't gone back to it, but I'm still paying for it. So you're right, actually. Even when you go into organizations and you try and optimize them, you don't actually do it yourself. And it sounds really stupid, but I've got subscriptions to, like, when you get, like, Disney Plus comes out.
Yep.
So you're adding Disney Plus to Amazon Prime, to Netflix, to whatever other streaming stuff you've got. And yeah, you don't actually manage your own subscriptions, do you? So when you put it like that, you can kind of see how organizations go down this rabbit hole. And maybe that increase each month isn't glaring, it isn't coming up to the finance guys go, whoa, what's happened here? But over time, that gradual increase actually ends up being an awful lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. But adding on to that, you as a person will be aware if you're not watching Netflix or you're not watching Prime, you're not watching Disney. So it's quite easy for you to then sort that issue out. If, the FD, for example, is getting an invoice every month, which slowly is increasing, he's going to sit there trusting that his teams or whoever's been given ownership of it, it's being used. But like you said, how did they even have clarity on it being used? Are 200 of those 300 assets actually being unused? Is that an old piece of, is that an old VM running from someone who left years ago, like you said? That's then the next level. It's easy for us to make the assessment. Have I used Netflix? Yeah, I use Netflix. I've used Prime. No, I'll cancel that. But these guys can't make the right decision without the right information. But yeah, communication and ownership it then comes down to.
So what would actually, that's a good point. What would be your top tips then for anyone? Forget about your clients, just the ITAM world in general. Give some of that knowledge to the ITAM world. What are your top tips then for managing your cloud subscription-based services?
Get clear data. Doesn't really. Everyone can talk about tools and what have you. Don't care what the tool is. Just get clear data.
Tool agnostic, ladies and gents.
Tool agnostic. There's the free ones. Microsoft do some good ones for on-premise stuff for free. Have a look at those to track the usage. Find out your entitlement. Get clarity on data of usage. That way you can find out if you're non-compliant. Make yourself compliant. Are you overspending? Stop yourself spending so much. You can't do anything without data, and it has to be clear, unnoisy data. So that's the first thing to do. Then is probably get the correct people involved to have a look at the data and say, okay, the problem at hand is that we're overspending. Let's resolve that. That's not the problem. We're overspending. Why are we overspending? What's the impact of this in other areas? We've only just looked at Microsoft, but what's actually happening to, our VMware estate, for example, or what's going on with the Oracle aspect? Because that's the bigger picture, is then actually identifying what the problem is, rather than just thinking, yeah, we've cut the licenses down at this renewal, no problem. That's going to happen again in a year or 2 years or 3 years time. It needs to be an ongoing process. So clear data, get the right people involved, put ownership in place. Doesn't matter if it's done wrong, as long as someone's got ownership, stuff will actually happen. And make sure the processes are put in place for it not to happen again.
So I think as well, I remembered when you went back to the scare tactics as well. You know, if you are getting dodgy bills, you're not getting stakeholders that are engaging with you to manage and put these processes into effect, or they're not taking ownership. You know, Chris mentioned using scare tactics and giving them like examples of how much stuff is. There are actually calculators out there, aren't there? Like, I mean, AWS has one, Azure has one, where you can go in and kind of spec a similar instance that you may have, or you could be cheeky and go for the top spec one that's going to be maxed out, just to kind of give some figures as to how much this can actually cost you. On a, you know, sometimes it even goes down to the hour on how much it's costing you. So you can factor that in, maybe scare some stakeholders into complying and getting your house in order. I completely agree.